Then going forward, joint ventures. Typical example is Tata Starbucks. So Starbucks is one of the most highly back-end integrated, you know, providers of coffee. They grow their own coffee in so many large fields that they are at an international level when it comes to the production of the bean itself. So collaborating with Starbucks, Tata have brought out
आकाश,
the Starbucks brand in India. Yeah.
हेलो, या थोड़ा माइक थोड़ा दूर रखो, तो थोड़ा डिस्टरबेंस कुछ आ रहा है। हाँ,
Is it
हाँ,
better? Is it
दैट्स
better?
फाइन। हेलो, थोड़ा,
हाँ
या,
हाँ। तो ठीक है क्या अभी?
एंड आई थिंक वॉल्यूम भी थोड़ा कम आ रहा है। इज इट फॉर मी और फॉर एवरीवन, आई डोंट नो, बट थोड़ा वॉल्यूम कम आ रहा है आपका।
ओ, अभी अभी भी वॉल्यूम कम है क्या?
नाउ इट्स बेटर फॉर मी। Just keep going for a while.
All
Let's
right.
see.
Yeah. So the
Or maybe you can uh, uh, remove that mic. I mean, अगर mic के बिना try करो, अगर possible है।
अच्छा।
और is it, हाँ, क्योंकि शायद माइक्रोफोन में थोड़ा डिस्टरबेंस आ रहा है।
Let me see. Is this better?
हाँ, now I think better. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and in the
Yeah.
case of a credit card, it is typically an upsell or a cross sell. So, when we talk about upsell or cross sell, the credit card company like ICICI will exchange the data with Make My Trip, and Make My Trip will then give you more rewards for using that particular bank's credit card. Similarly, you have seen this with the Big Billion Day. Certain cards were having certain amount of discount. That discount is given so that your buying behavior can be profiled, and both the e-commerce provider and the bank will then subsequently give you other offers to buy, driving their overall transactions with you higher. Now, divestment, COVID impact on angel networks by the numbers. So, what you are seeing is that the deal value, deal count, and the established deal count has actually taken an uptick, at least in the American markets. Disinvestment by Government of India to attract foreign collaborators has also started happening. This is from the Startup India website, a very good resource for you to understand more about startup investing, fundraising, and so on. So different sectors, these are some of the percentages that the government intends to allow for disinvestment. So has there been like a impact on the deal sizes? Now yesterday I gave you very vague numbers in terms of what each level, each round of funding will get, how much funding in you're getting number of deals. So here you are saying that in 2021 number of investments under 500,000 in America is actually less than last year. So larger deals are happening more compared to the smaller investment quotas, as per the pitch book of NVCA Venture Monitor. Now, so you're trying to disinvest, and one of the modes is raising from the VCs. So in case this is like a, it happens in stages. Risk has to be reduced at each stage. What does that mean? It means that your company has developed a capability that the market requires. De-risking, wherever you hear the word in the context of your startup, it means you have some special competency, some special intellectual property, or collaboration or exclusive licensing. For example, one of the greatest examples of exclusive license in the garment industry is Page Industries, which had licensed their jockey brand from America as an exclusive licensee, and their market has exploded like anything in the last 20 years, 15 years. So de-risking is that what is special and unique about you. And since it is in stages, like I said yesterday, instead of giving the entire agreed upon investment amount, whether it is $500,000 or 4 crores or whatever is the amount that the VC has agreed to invest, by doing it in stages, there's always that hunger to deliver outcomes from the startup team. VCs invest in syndicates. So syndicates means whenever the quantum is in the $100 million range, there are 3 or 4 or 5 venture capitalists who will invest together. So the point of venture capital is to get collective knowledge, versus in the case if you had taken money from 1 or 2 high net worth individuals, you would not get that kind of know-how. So, this is a brief overview of what a venture capital fund looks like. It is raising money from high net worth individuals, wealthy families, pension funds, as you can see in the top. And the capital that is raised comes in stages, and then, as the fund deploys the money, it can ask for more capital. If the fund has only found 7 startups instead of the approximate 15 or 20 that it wanted to invest in, then the leftover money will have to be returned to the limited partners. As the word limited suggests, these partners take no role in the decision making of where the money will be allocated, how much it will be allocated. However, they are partners in the fund, and they expect that the fund will give them the commensurate returns on the investment. Typical venture capital funds have a fees of 2% annual management fees and 20% profit of the returns that each investment makes. Portfolio of ventures. So as you see, there are multiple ways of exiting: acquisitions, IPO, initial public offering, and then not necessarily that all will get acquired. There could be a couple of failures and some acquisitions. What is to note that what we need to note here is that, very few business plans are selected. So the VC is doing a lot of filtering, and they're always talking with other VCs also, in case they want to go all in and have a larger quantum, larger proportion of equity in your business. General partners are the decision makers, and for every general partner, the kind of returns they generated in their earlier investments, that's their track record, and based on that, they stand to raise more money. Disinvestment, impact of COVID. So you are seeing some more statistics and numbers here, like it takes longer to get to a decision, and the amount of money per percentage stake in your business, it has started to have a discount to the tune of 20 to 25%, which means you would get less money for the same equity compared to 2019, roughly. And the investments are getting larger, so that companies don't need to go through the cumbersome process of raising funds very shortly. This also gives the early stage investors more rights on how the company is going to be run. Now, I've covered divestment, and I'll move on to the standard operating procedures. If you feel that your company's potential is being bottlenecked by something, more often than not, it is a limited amount of manpower. How do you come out of this manpower trap? You need to share your know how with other competent people that you hire on your team. How will you make sure that they are sticking to the right processes, the right steps to deliver value to your end customer? If you want to open a branch in Rajkot or in Ludhiana or any other part of the world, then your standard operating procedures are the go to guide. Critical to quality requirements. If you have a device, then from the device level to the component, dimension, functional level. So any business has multiple levels. Facebook, you might say, is not dependent on a device. Actually, it is. If you look at the amount of revenue that Facebook generates, it's linked with the amount of users. It is simply because of a billion users have been more or less active on Facebook is why Facebook has managed to make more profits. So what does influence the amount of users? Smartphone. If there are not enough smartphones, not enough people will be able to access Facebook. So there is a device. It may not be directly provided by you, but you need to be cognizant of what devices in the ecosystem you depend on. So you need to have standard operating procedures from all the levels that your software will interact with your customer. If you are offering a software to print passbooks, there are companies that offer the ATM machines such as Diebold. So they need to have standard operating procedures to ensure that the bank is not giving away more currency notes compared to what the account holder should actually be able to withdraw. Likewise, there are cash deposit machines. So the cash deposit machine should be able to tell which notes are defective or counterfeit and return those notes. These are some of the examples of processes that businesses are inherently depending on to deliver value to their end customer. Critical to quality requirements. You need to have a document of that. And when you fundraise, these critical to quality documents requirements, whether you have them documented or not, will be looked at with the magnifying lens by the due diligence team of the investor. So standard operating procedures in themselves can be a 5 to 6 hour talk. So I have skimmed down some notes for you and you will need to read them through. You need to come from the specifications towards the characteristics required for the function of the device. Wherever you see device, if that is not applicable for your startup, you must think of service, function of the service, and ends with the capture of those characteristics in the specifications. If these specifications are done by you, then it is your specifications. If you are going to outsource them to somebody, then they are supplier specifications. So moving forward, there are various you know these SOPs, CTQs. You need to have them integrated across the entire supply chain. We'll read them through later. So as far as you can, if you show the information in the form of drawings, it will reduce ambiguity. So it is not uncommon for your SOP to have drawings. It may not be that you are always designing hardware products. You may be designing a software. Then your drawing needs to show the flow chart or any other kind of information that is being exchanged. It could be a network architecture, so on and so forth. You'll need to have a dedicated person who does the standard operating procedures. This is you being the teacher, facilitator, trainer, leader of your business and handing over certain know-how to certain people so that your plate is free to deliver maximum business leadership. Other key requirements. You know, it's not like you made a plan, you gave the plan out in the form of a SOP and your supplier will immediately return. It doesn't happen. You need to take reviews, particularly for suppliers based out of China. You need to not only review or examine the kind of uh, goods that you are getting from them as a sample, you also need people who will ensure that the entire shipment is corresponding to the desired quality. There have been instances where certain suppliers, they give a good demo, a good prototype, and when it comes to delivering the actual container, they start giving you very poor or less. When we talk about quality, it is always about seeing what is the 1 in 100 is defective or 1 in 1000 is defective, or 1 in 10,000 is defective. So you'll need to see whether your supplier can return that kind of assured quality. So some other know-how about the critical aspects. Now, writing a good checklist. It's not as easy as it sounds. You need to know the task, you need to know the user. Now, typically, what happens in a startup is that your users are changing, your specifications are changing, you're trying to create a new iteration with the desired features that will satisfy and get you more customers. So, you'll need to take a call. Do you want to write a good checklist at the end of a week or a month? But you need to have it done every now and then. What to do in the event of a data breach or any other kind of emergency like a extended power shortage. So errors in using checklist. This is the citation. Please go through this. This is from the US Department of Transportation. A lot of this standard operating procedures you will see is tied up with supply chains. Supply chains means transportations. These two are also closely related. So you must look through this reference thinking, what and all can I take advantage of? You might say that for a e-commerce business, everything is happening on the website. It's not my lookout how it is transported that the courier person will do. Actually, Flipkart, Amazon, they have entire UI, user interface, and they design the user experience such that the end customer gets a good idea, a very good idea of how long should that customer wait for the product, and if any unexpected delays arise, then what is the extended waiting time? Likewise, where is the shipment? It's a simple question of assuring and reassuring your end customers about the shipment being delivered properly. So tracking is a huge aspect that the software has to show, but this information has to come from whom? From your partners who are doing the delivery. So you need to have all these things there, whether you have had omissions in your checklist, whether the checklist is likely to be upset or interrupted by changes in the logistics or any other external aspect. Some of the basic pointers: it has to be initiated by either a designated person, most probably. So you start off being the person who does checklist. At the start, your company may not have enough manpower, so you do the checklisting in the onset. Gradually find an HR person or a company secretary or any other quality officer with some Six Sigma exposure who is willing to take on the role of continuing to make the standard operating procedure checklists. You need to look at specific events that matter to your business. If it is a Diwali sale, that's a very specific event. Here the example is starting an engine, but you need to think of what is going to start the economic engine for my startup to serve my customers. Think of it like that. Don't take the words literally. You got to start understanding how can this apply to my context. That is why people will come to invest money with you, because you should have developed some know-how, some uniqueness in your business that people are valuing. So some of the business aspects, business operations that a startup will have to go through. So a startup that is using a typewriter is highly unlikely to be seen nowadays. You are always expected to keep abreast or keep catching up with the latest technology trends. That is where your the premium of your share is, that you are doing things that other people in the market are lagging behind, like using Amazon Web Services or other cloud providers. So the aim of the government is to bolster these startups, youthful people who are trying new technologies, and these are some of the targets that the government has set up: 50,000 new startups, 500 new incubators, 100 innovation zones in urban local bodies by 2024. So when you do your business operations, you need to be mindful that you are satisfying the eligibility for Startup India. Angel investors will see this, and by registering in Startup India, angel investment taxation for the investor becomes more streamlined. So these are some of the aspects of operations that you will need to ensure your company secretary or other financial professionals in your startup are doing. So any business will have some form of cash flow, some form of cost reduction is necessary, because when you start you are making mistakes. That is the part and parcel of the game. Can you learn from the earlier mistake and reduce the cost that is going, the overhead that is happening? Management accounting, you need to give the government GST every quarter, and these filings, if they are not done, you will get penalties as being a private limited. That is why so many businesses are shying away from being a private limited, because of the expected compliances. And at the same time, if you're not a private limited, you'll simply not be eligible to raise any form of capital from the investors. Management accounting, okay, and then business analysis. So you need to have some spare attention given to whether your business is actually going in the direction you wanted it to. So we can, and we as the leader need to look at startup control, but if we don't have this ability, then we need to bring in people. And Inodesk has several such people known to them, like Professor Apte and Professor and our Karamjit sir, who can help you in certain aspects. And we can also collaborate with other chartered accountants, and you need to bring in such people, because this is not something that just you will do. This word we inherently tells you that you need to bring in people for these kind of operations at some point or the other, who have experience of doing these things, so that you don't suffer from penalties of any kind. And you need to have people who will help you with marketing performance, branding, customer service, customer loyalty. Loyalty is very important. If the review on social media for the startup is negative consistently, then it will be hard to attract new customers. In the age of digital, you won't be able to compete with the brands on television. However, if your reviews are nice in Google reviews, Trustpilot, other such review sites, Amazon's own reviews, so what if you're selling a software? If your software can be sold in the form of a USB key that is sold in Amazon, then you will be able to get reviews even on Amazon. So you need to be where your target customer is going to be, and then your reviews in that platform need to keep improving. So other business planning, a company secretary, can help startups with business plans for investment, scorecards, key performance indicators, KPIs. Now there are other aspects also. There are so many process improvement related aspects, right? So you might be computing on the cloud, you might be using Amazon Web Services or Facebook even to run advertisements for your startups. Then you need to get the proper invoicing done so that you can claim input tax credit for the GST that you spend on these cloud providers. This is something that company secretaries can help with. Bear in mind, any expenses your startup does overseas, it will be hard to get input tax credit in GST scheme unless you're part of a particular export oriented startup. So these are all nuances. Just as you have GST means doesn't mean you can get the reimbursement for GST expenses done abroad. So these are all things you'll need to talk with the company secretary, because these norms keep changing every year. So you can see that talent management is an important aspect. You alone will not be able to expand your startup. So having a company secretary or similar talent that can attract or recruit people on your behalf is important. And some other four areas, you can see some parts of the business need not be done by you at all. If you can outsource it, even better. So if you find gig workers, like people who will come in for that 1 week or 1 month or 2 month and do certain aspects for your business, even better. And accounting for the expenses that the company incurs to hire such short-term workers is also something you'll have to make sure you do. Business consulting, so different kinds of business needs will arise time to time. Everything cannot be handled by hiring people full time at all, and whenever you need to get help from particular talents, you'll need to get the right consulting done. Micro consulting, so this is like even shorter time frames, like 2 day 3 day sessions. Mentoring, certain aspects of your business need to be discussed with other senior businessmen in that area, and they can start opening up new connections for you, new deals for you. So this is like business performance managing. You need to have a manager who will start looking at whether the strategy is in place, whom can we collaborate with, who is not directly our competitor but someone who would like to get their name out there. So when you look for a company secretary, look for somebody who will, explain how they can improve your sales, directly or indirectly, how they can improve your sales process, faster decision making, cash balance and cost saving, how they can help you to properly take advantage of government norms such that your startup will get the necessary vitamin M. So there are some incentives by government like GEM. It's a platform where small companies can onboard and satisfy government orders. Similarly, for invoice discounting also there are certain government platforms. So invoice discounting is when you have raised an invoice to a larger company, and the larger company says we will only pay you after 45 days or after 90 days. So this kind of turnaround time in payments happens quite often in the corporate world. And by doing invoice discounting, if you are on the government registered platform for that, you will be able to get interim finance from banks or other finance providers up to 70%, 80% of the invoice, particularly if it is a Tata on the other end. And if it is an invoice that you raise to the Tata which they have accepted, then it's highly likely that you will get the necessary invoice discounting financing. So, moving on to project management in this highly digitalized age where you need to operate remotely and satisfy people remotely, you'll have to give like a really unfair level of value to the customer. Like it, even if your earlier plan did not involve having a digital portal or other remote reach out initiatives or having a cash on delivery, you'll need to offer these things nowadays. So this is a brief overview of a project life cycle. You start with the needs, and in the pre-project work itself, you can initiate your documentation for standard operating procedures. Then you start the project charter, then the project management plan, and different timelines for carrying out the work and completing the project. Now, in the digital transformation era, you'll have to communicate the agile principles, which is something software engineering has brought forth. Agile is instead of waiting for one phase of your business to deliver, then you go to the next phase, next department, then the next department. That is the water flow model. There is no going back. But in the agile phase, multiple departments are doing work almost seemingly independently, and at the same time, they are also talking to each other and collaborating together. So, legacy processes will be there. Like if your end user is going to require you to offer them some kind of older format of information, you will have to satisfy that. Not all teams could work fully based on agile principles. So you may have agile implemented in your startup, doesn't mean that your company secretary can understand that. So you may have to spend some time and explain that person if that CS is not a part of your business and is on a short term consulting basis. And you need to create feedback loops with clients, as design thinking emphasizes client is the key stakeholder in all of this. Everything is done so that you get more positive reviews from clients. You cannot get only positive reviews, you'll also get negative reviews, and that is actually going to give you the opportunity to improve, become unique in ways that the other competitors in the market will not be able to catch up with. Project management framework for digital transformation. So there are some keywords such as agile, scrum, kanban, lean. You have to see which one is more appropriate for you. Disciplined and agile implementations for digital transformation, DevOps, development and operations. So there are multiple knowledge areas that will be interacting, and their constraints you need to know. You need to talk with your developer, you need to talk with your tester, you need to see what the customer is saying. So all these people will be there, and their inputs need to be streamlined. So disciplined agile delivery life cycle, this is how it would look like. So you're going to give a, a semi-finished product. Keep that in mind. Your startup is never done, it's unfinished. It has potential to pivot, it has potential to do things for the customer that a larger corporation will take more time, more bureaucracy, more permissions to deliver. So you're always giving a fit for purpose product. It is not fully finished, but it is fit for purpose. And so from conception, inception, construction of the offering itself, transition, production, and then retirement of an older version, all these things will have to happen in a startup. And you'll have to envision then the roadmaps, then are you going in the right direction, then you have to convert all of that into a checklist of to dos, and then you'll need to see whether you can build a consumable solution in a evolutionary manner. Evolutionary manner means you keep getting customer feedback into it. Customer feedback can come in the form of change request, so you will not be able to incorporate each feedback in the immediate version iteration of your software or offering, and it may happen in the next release. So be it, then communicate in the marketing that our next release will have so and so feature. As of now, most companies are doing that. Every time you open your Flipkart app, you will see next version of company A, B, C offering their new features in the smartphone. That is part of the game. That is why customers will take interest in you. So here are some more information about digital transformation projects. Disciplined agile delivery promotes a full delivery lifecycle, not just the programming and release part covered by agile scrum, but also the inception phase where the project vision is defined and approved, and the support and retirement phases after release. Now it may be possible that if you are incorporating design thinking approaches, then you might use design thinking methods in the inception. That is fine. Disciplined agile delivery is just telling you that project management doesn't just start by doing the project itself. There's a lot of pre-project information gathering that you need to take on. Disciplined agile delivery rationale. So these are the different existing project management approaches, and disciplined agile delivery just tells you see which ones you need. So I will take some questions now. There are more information about project management here. People undergo a particular project management specialization and get certifications from Project Management Institute. So you will also need to see on a need basis which of this is applicable for you. I am open for questions. So this is talking about how Uber, Airbnb, iTunes, John Deere, how these people are incorporating the amount of change that is being brought in by demands of their customers. Google. Strategic level, PM should answer what game does the customer want to play, how will you play the game. not necessary that you're making a game app, but what is it that will entice or bring about interest in the customer. Some guidelines, just don't do digitalization for the sake of it. Redesign the products and services by working backwards from consumer behavior. Then experiment, which means get more feedback, and so on and so forth. If you want to close your company, you completely need a professional for that. It is not something that can be covered in a 1 hour talk. So this is some of the sections by law which you'll have to address if you want to close the company. Thank you. Hello, is anybody asking any questions?
Yeah. So yes, guy. So any questions for Akashdeep? To see the Q&A, Penny. Okay. Today's session was little bit faster because of the information that we need to provide. But any question regarding this digital transformation, the SOPs, or earlier what Akashdeep sir has mentioned? Anyone? Let me also open up the poll for you guys, attendance. Just a minute. Yeah. So any question, any query for today's session, yesterday's session, anything?
सर
Yeah.
तो सर का ईमेल आईडी सर कल मिला नहीं था सर ने पेश किया था पर आया नहीं था सर.
अच्छा.
Akash, can you put it again?